Prospect Park sits quietly in the center of Brooklyn, 526 acres of trees, lakes, meadows, and winding drives. But beneath the calm lies a story that stretches back centuries, a story of war, idealism, and the struggle to give one of America's busiest cities a breath of open air. Before it was Brooklyn's backyard, this land was a wilderness of glacial ridges and streams, shaped thousands of years ago by retreating ice. The Lenape people lived and hunted here long before Europeans arrived, calling the area part of their homeland. Then came the Dutch settlers, and later the British. In 1776, the ridges that cut through what is now Prospect Park became the scene of the Battle of Brooklyn, also called the Battle of Long Island, the largest battle of the American Revolution. American troops under General Washington fought desperately across what's now Battle Pass, a natural gap in the hills. They lost the fight but bought enough time to retreat across the East River and preserve the army. The park's quiet wooded slopes still follow that battlefield's contours. By the mid-19th century, Brooklyn was no longer farmland. It was booming, a separate city with factories, row houses, and nearly 300,000 people. Its leaders decided they needed a public park to match Manhattan's new Central Park. On April 18, 1859, the New York State Legislature authorized Brooklyn to select sites for large parks. A commission formed, and in February 1860, they recommended a site called Mount Prospect Park. At first, the layout was different, closer to present-day Crown Heights, but the Civil War delayed progress, and the plans stalled. Then, in 1865, architect Calvert Vaux, who had co-designed Central Park with Frederick Law Olmsted, was brought in to redesign the Brooklyn Park. He invited Olmsted to join him. Together, they envisioned something new, not just a green rectangle, but a landscape that felt untouched, almost wild. Ground broke on July 1, 1866. Olmsted and Vaux reshaped the rugged glacial hills into sweeping meadows and natural ravines. They planted over 100,000 trees and shrubs, carved paths that curved gently like streams, and built a watercourse that flowed into a man-made lake. The first section opened to the public on October 19, 1867. The park wasn't finished, but the people of Brooklyn were ready. Families picnicked on the long meadow. Workers rowed boats on the lake. By 1873, construction was largely complete. Prospect Park quickly became the pride of Brooklyn, a civic experiment in democracy. Olmsted believed parks were the lungs of the city, a refuge for everyone, regardless of class. His design made visitors feel as if they'd stepped far from urban life, even though the city surrounded them. But the land carried its own buried stories. The hills and ridges bore the scars of the Revolution. The Quaker Cemetery, established before the park existed, remained as a private plot enclosed within its boundaries. In the early years, some saw that cemetery as an intrusion. Today, it's a quiet memorial to those who lived here long before the park's creation. Through the 1800s, the park flourished. Sunday crowds filled the long meadow. Winter brought ice skating and even ice baseball on the frozen lake. Newspapers recorded a match there in January 1879. Elegant carriage drives and bridle paths attracted the city's elite, while working-class families strolled under the same trees. At the Grand Army Plaza entrance, construction of the Soldiers and Sailors Arch began in 1889 and completed in 1892, giving the park a monumental gateway. Bridges, arches, and rustic shelters appeared through the 1890s and early 1900s, all echoing Olmsted and Vaux's philosophy of blending architecture with nature. The 20th century brought change. By the 1930s, the Great Depression hit city budgets hard. Enter Robert Moses, New York's powerful parks commissioner. He used Federal Works Progress Administration funds to revive Prospect Park, but also to reshape it. Under Moses, new facilities appeared: playgrounds, ball fields, the Prospect Park Zoo, which opened on July 3, 1935, and the Bandshell, completed in 1939. These projects brought jobs and recreation, yet some critics said they disrupted Olmsted's naturalistic vision. After World War II, Brooklyn's population shifted and city maintenance declined. By the 1960s and 70s, Prospect Park was in trouble. Crime rose, landscaping decayed, and city cuts left benches broken, paths unlit, and lawns overgrown. But Brooklyn didn't give up. In 1987, community leaders and the Parks Department formed the Prospect Park Alliance, a nonprofit dedicated to restoring and maintaining the park. Their work revived Olmsted's landscapes, rebuilt the woodlands, and repaired historic bridges. They restored the boathouse, now the park's Audubon Center, and dredged the lake to clean decades of pollution. In 1975, Prospect Park was declared a New York City scenic landmark, and in 1980, it earned a place on the National Register of Historic Places. These protections ensured its survival for future generations. The Alliance's work continued into the 21st century. In 2013, the Samuel J. and Ethel LaFrac Center at Lakeside opened, a modern skating and recreation complex that respects the park's landscape while adding new life to its southern edge. Today, when you walk through Prospect Park, you're standing on nearly 2 centuries of civic dreams and struggles. Beneath the long meadow lies Revolutionary War ground. Beneath the pathways, glacial rock older than the city itself. Above you, trees planted by workers in the 1860s now tower like monuments. 3 themes define this history. First, Prospect Park as an act of design and nature. Olmsted's belief that every person deserves access to beauty and calm. Second, the park as Brooklyn's declaration of identity. When it was built, Brooklyn was still independent, and the park was proof it could rival Manhattan's grandeur. Third, Prospect Park as an evolving organism. From its 19th century idealism through decline and renewal, it reflects the city's own resilience. Its meadows have hosted protests, picnics, concerts, and marathons. Its trees have shaded families for 5 generations. Its lake still freezes some winters, recalling those first skaters of the 1870s. Stand at the top of Lookout Hill, and you can see almost all of Brooklyn, neighborhoods that have risen and changed, skylines that keep climbing higher. Down below, the park remains constant, a living reminder that even in the city that never slows down, someone once stopped long enough to plant a tree. The truth is, Prospect Park isn't just a park. It's a monument to the idea that a city should care for the minds and bodies of its people. It's where nature, history, and human hope meet, and somehow coexist. So the next time you walk its paths, remember, you're not just passing through grass and trees. You're walking through time, through war and peace, neglect and revival, dreams and determination. Prospect Park is Brooklyn's heartbeat, still steady, still green, still alive.